Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Tuesday, almost 2 o'clock Tbilisi time, and just a second, I want to check if everything's working fine without a problem. This, what am I doing? Where is it? I think everything should work normally. Yes. So you have live chat. Yes, it's working. Everything is working. Right, so we have 1 minute till the beginning of tiebreak stage. I want to remind you that the first round is coming to the end. First round of Tbilisi FIDE World Cup, and now we have tiebreak round, which is the third day of this tournament. And those chess players who can't still understand, can't still find out who the better person is, who the better chess player is, they will face each other. Just a second, Tbilisi. And now the third game has started. It is rapid chess. It's not classical chess right now, so it will be quicker. We can see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So not so few games, by the way. 21, 22, 22 games. So of course I will not manage to cover all the games. Let's try to find out. The games that can be the most interesting here. I think that first of all, it is the game between Sergey Karjakin and young Australian talent Anton Smirnov. Here it is. So let's cover this game first, and then we'll see. After this game finishes, we'll look at other games. So Sergey is playing as white. They have 25 minutes plus probably 10 seconds increment. So Sergey is playing as white in the first game. So what is the rule on this stage? So they play 2 games with each color, and if after these 2 games there is no winner, there is no person with score advantage, they play other 2 games with time reduction. So for instance, they don't have 25 minutes at the beginning, they have about 15 minutes, probably 15 minutes. So now it's rapid chess. Knight f3, knight f6, Petrov defense, d6, knight f3, knight takes e4, and d4, d5. Standard theoretical variation, bishop d3, bishop d6, castle, castle, c4, c6, rook e1, and this is the last move in this game, rook e1. So obviously rook is attacking this knight. What can be the move? Yeah, but I just wanted to say bishop f5, and Anton Smirnov made this move. White can play, yeah, queen b3. This move was played instantly by Sergey Karjakin. Of course, he wants to attack, he wants to win, not to play too many games today, because tomorrow it will be the second round, and he needs to save energy. Knight a6. Look at that move. I think that if queen takes pawn on b7, knight will go to b4, attack this bishop. This bishop should move somewhere. Computer says rook e3, and in response to this move, queen f6, with possible queen h6 maybe, but I think that in this position it will be a real problem for white, because for example a3, knight takes d3, rook takes d3, and knight takes f2. So this pin can be damaging. So that is why knight a6 is not a mistake. It has real meaning. Anton is setting small trap for Sergey Karjakin. Let me just very quickly try to understand what other games can we see, among interesting games. So let's see, maybe some top players are still playing. I want to tell you that 2 Ukrainian grandmasters will not play in the second round and will not play on tiebreak because they lost. And one of them is ex-world champion Ruslan Ponomaryov, and the second person is Pavel Ilyanov. So these 2 Ukrainian grandmasters, they are leaving the tournament. I think that there are not so many top grandmasters. Yan Nepomniachtchi, by the way. I think we will talk about his game as well. Yan Nepomniachtchi is playing as well. So in this game, meanwhile, c4 pawn took pawn on d5, and don't forget that if pawn takes, queen can't take it because bishop will move to h2, and if king takes, queen will be taken, queen will be captured. So yes, Sergey took the pawn, and Anton obviously took this pawn on d5. Knight c3, yes, he attacks this pawn on d5. Now it is a real threat to play with the pawn on d5. I think that this game can be of interest for some Australian chess fans. For those of you who are watching, please leave your questions in our live chat. Any questions you want to ask me. Knight c3, knight b4. Yes, in Petrov defense, knight b4 is a very common move. Well, usually it is a common move through knight c6, but in this game it was played with knight a6. Really good move. Computer says bishop e4. And by the way, one more aim of this move, knight b4, is to defend pawn on d5. I would say that this game that Anton Smirnov shows is not childish at all. So quite interesting moves, sensible, and I would say that wise game. So he has some potential, definitely. He just needs to fulfill this potential. Appropriate coaches, sufficient amount of practice, and maybe getting some kind of wild card for top tournaments, because I know that this is widely used practice, frequently used practice. Some young talents, interesting chess players, charismatic chess players, they can get this wild card to the top tournaments. For instance, Hualing normally gets at least 2 or 3 wild cards a year to the tournaments among men, and in the recent tournament she was very successful. She took the first place, and that is why maybe Anton has some potential in this area as well. Look at the time proportion. It's very interesting because usually Sergey is kind of chess player who can think very quickly, create interesting moves very quickly. He is one of the best chess players in the world. He is a reigning Blitz World Champion. By the way, he beat Magnus Carlsen himself. So I believe that if this pair, Sergey Karjakin and Anton Smirnov, if they come to Blitz stage, I think for Anton it will be really difficult. So it is Anton's chance right now. So we are waiting for Sergey Karjakin's response. What can it be right now? Just bishop e4, I think, to simplify this position, because I think if he moves to, for instance, to b1, rook can move to e4. Sorry, rook can move to e4. Queen maybe, or queen I think to d7 could be a good move. Queen d7, and bishop on b1 will not be a good position. So we are still waiting for Sergey's move. Let's have a look at Jan Nepomniachtchi's game. I think that we will try to cover these two games. First, Jan Nepomniachtchi is playing as black. He is a very strong rapid and blitz player. I think this is his area of expertise. He has recently defeated Levon Aronian on chess.com. It was a match between those two, and Jan was very impressive. His game, of course, his game. He was thinking very little. So I think that he decided to play blitz and rapid on tiebreak with a certain purpose, intentionally. So bishop g5, h6. It's one of the variations of Najdorf defense in Sicilian defense. Najdorf variation, sorry, in Sicilian defense. g5, bishop g3. Yes. Yes, h3. Of course, we need to attack this knight. Knight moves to e5, and from this e5 square, it can potentially move. For example, after b5 pawn move, queen c7, it can move to c4. Knight c4 can be something threatening. And I think that being on this central square, it attacks both queen and king side. Next. So just simple developing. Let's look at that. By the way, we have Mladen Palak, maybe Croatian grandmaster. He decided to make castle queen side. Knight takes, queen takes, bishop e6, and knight d5. So white is trying to play very aggressively and actively. f4. Or indeed. So it's very logical. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Pawn takes, and bishop takes f4. Knight g6, I think, can be the move. One of the moves. No, knight g6 can't be because of the bishop. Obviously, it's impossible to make this move. And I think there are some problems for black right now, because uh, it would be quite dangerous to make castle kingside in this position. Seems very sharp, so I think Jan needs to think what to do with his king. Yes, king f8. I don't think this was a very good move, king f8, because, well, what next? He doesn't have a white squared bishop in order to defend his king on h7 square. So I think that probably if he moves to f8, it means he moves to g8 and to h7. Then he needs a bishop, a white square bishop. He doesn't have this bishop. That can be a problem. Maybe his knight can be here, but if bishop takes the knight, then we have this white squared bishop, and by the way, it can move to d3 even earlier. So I'm not sure whether it's a good move, whether it's a secure move. Let's move back to Sergey Karjakin's game. Just a second. No, I wanted to make it quicker. So Sergey Karjakin's game is not very far from Jan Nepomniachtchi's game. So knight b4 was the last move. Bishop takes e4. Yeah, he made the right decision. Bishop e4. Pawn d takes e4. Knight takes e4. And bishop e6. Yeah, quite solid response was played by Anton Smirnov. Of course, he doesn't want just to exchange and to take the knight, because this bishop is quite strong. For instance, as you can see, this bishop on e6 can be sensible, and look at the, by the way, very important feature of this position. This pawn on d4 is isolated. To play against isolated pawn, you need to block this d5 square. So I think that in this position, knight d5 will be sooner or later played by black. Yeah, someone wants me to talk about Jabava's game. Tornike Brachuli, no problem. We'll talk about his game as well. So let's have a look at these recent moves here in this game. Bishop e6, queen d1, and rook c8. So knight c2 is a real threat in this position. What can we play? Bishop g5 to attack the queen. So I think that now it's a very equal position. There is no real advantage for Sergey Karjakin. Let's move to Bahadur Jabava's game. Bahadur is a very charismatic person. I've watched some of his live streams, interviews, broadcastings. He's a very, very interesting person with a good sense of humor and a very strong blitz player. Let's try to find his game. Where is Bahadur? So he's maybe somewhere near Jan Nepomniachtchi. Yeah, he's here. He's playing against Spanish Grandmaster. So let's just do this. Yeah, so Jan Nepomniachtchi can be covered as well, easily. So Bahadur is playing as white. e4, c5, Sicilian defense, knight e2. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes players make this move, and it's not a mistake at all. Of course, it's a bit more passive because knight doesn't attack and doesn't control this e5 square. But it's also a very good move. After that, it can be knight c3, for instance, maybe d4, and sometimes I saw some variations with knight from, for instance, from c3 to b5 and taking this pawn on d4 from b5 square. It is absolutely possible, so let's have a look. And by the way, Bahadur is the player who likes some rare variations, especially when he plays as white, for example. It's very soft variation. He likes that. Yeah, maybe it can confuse his opponent a bit. Why not? d6. It came to standard Chelyabinsk variation. Knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, knight b8, a4, defending the knight, bishop e2, yes, castle, both castles, knight d7 to move to c5, or maybe f5 and knight f6. Why not? It can be possible. Look at that move, a5 with the pawn. He wants to set his pawn very close to black pawns, to black pieces, and maybe in any chess ending this pawn can be a real advantage. Who knows? a6, knight c3, bishop g5, knight e4. Yes, that's a very good move, because look, if we simply take the bishop, queen takes, and queen is on a very good square. Now we want to take this bishop. Of course, we want simply to capture it without response, without any response. But we also attack d6 pawn, and d6 pawn will be an object of attacks for white. So white should attack d6 pawn somehow, and b6 as well, by the way. So these two squares can be very important for white quite soon. Knight c5, knight takes, pawn takes, and rook d1. He doesn't want to play c4 at this time, at this particular moment. He is playing rook d1, and maybe, who knows, he will play c4 a bit later. I think that now this d5 pawn is a real advantage, it's a real threat. Queen e3 can be the next move. I think that this rook can move from to the square a3 and maybe sooner or later to c3. It can be possible as well. Queen d6. As I said, rook a3, rook b8, queen e3. Yes, that's the plan for white. Bishop f5. So here I think rook c3 can be a move. Maybe rook c3, I think, yeah, that can be something. We defend the pawn on c2 and we attack pawn on c5. So computer says rook d2. Why not? Very good move as well. c4. He decided to make this move. c4. Well, to be honest, I disagree with that because, again, it was not so necessary to play c4 at this particular moment. So this pawn was well protected. There was no need to play c4. I don't think so. It's my opinion, of course. He is stronger than me, but I think that rook c3, rook d2 are much better moves. Okay, let's move to the next game. We'll come back to Bahadur Jubava's game, Я не помнящий. So we'll try to cover these three games. So let's try to find the last. Yeah, he made a move, king f8, and that's it. So his opponent is still thinking. He's still thinking. I think that's dangerous. Don't do that. If you play rapid chess, blitz, especially blitz chess, do not spend a lot of time here, because I think that, okay, let's have a look. What can he play? Of course, we have this quite dangerous pin, yes, because now this bishop is protected with the king. That is why, by the way, that was one more aim of this move, king f8. I think that simply knight g6 can be a good move in this position. That is why queen e4 is a very interesting move, and I guess that king side is not in a very comfortable position for Я не помнящий. Okay, let's have a look at another game. Where is Sergey Karjakin? So it was bishop e6. Bishop e6 was the last move. Queen d1, and rook c8. Yeah, there is no need to play knight d5 urgently right now at this moment. He will do that. He will have time to do that. That's not a big problem. He can develop another piece with a real threat. So rook c8 is a very active move. Bishop g5, queen d7. I think yes, it's one of the best squares for black queen. Computer suggested queen b6 as well. I think queen b6 may be a bit more active, but queen d7 is very good as well. Next, rook e2, good move. So it will be. I really think that a3 should be played. a3 should be played. This knight is too dangerous, and I think that if we play a3, knight goes to d5, maybe we'll try to play rook c1 and then rook c2, something like that. So I think in this position, knight is a real problem. It's pain in the ass for white. Sorry, for white. Let's move to the next game, to Bahadur's game. Here he is. So has he made? Yeah, so he played c4 and his opponent decided to play b6. Why is it a real problem? So let me just come back to b6 move. I think that is of course my opinion, but b6 is not a very good move. First of all, because a6 pawn is quite weak. So computer says the same move I was thinking about, rook da1. So look at that move. Now we want to take, and then a6 pawn will be under our attack, and c5 as well. So I think that b6 was not the most precise move in this position. So what could have played this Spanish Grandmaster Ivan Salgado? I think simply developing something. Well, computer says bishop d7. I do not quite agree with that, but maybe bishop d7 to play b5. Maybe for that purpose I agree with that. Bishop d7, b5. That can be an interesting move. If you see this pawn on d5 and it is well protected with the pawn on c4, you need to attack protector. You need to attack this defender, the pawn which protects a very strong pawn on d5. So that is why c4 should be under our attack. But okay, b6, rook d2, b5. So I don't agree with rook d2 because b6 was the move. Yes, as I said, rook da1, and look at that. Of course, Spanish Grandmaster who is playing as black, he wants to play b5. That is his purpose. He wants to weaken these two pawns. That is his purpose. I don't really understand the meaning of rook d2 move. Of course, Bahadur wants to defend this pawn on b2, but then it goes b5. So what can be the move right now? I do not know really whether taking this pawn on b5 could be something positionally justified. Maybe it can be, because pawn takes, and a6 moves forward. But look at that. So he decided to play b5, h4 move. That is why did he play that? I think that means he has no precise active plan on the queen side. I think so. b4 moves forward, and rook a1, rook b d8. I think it was not a very wise decision as black, because now Spanish Grandmaster will suffer in any ending actually, because d5 pawn will be so strong, it will be so difficult to do something with that, to deal with that. And by the way, if Bahadur decided to start playing h4 and try to attack on the king side as well, So it means he has some plan, maybe plan, or maybe just he decided to do it like a psychological move, psychological threat. And I don't really understand where, on what side Spanish Grandmaster can play and can be active. That is a slight problem for him. Okay, let's move to another game. Another game is well, let's cover Sergey Karjakin's game against Anton Smirnov now. So position has changed a bit. So let's again look at that. Bishop, Queen D1. We have seen that. Rook E2, F6. Wow, F6. Is it a good move? Is it something that was so necessary to play? I doubt that. Any pawn move can make some problem. Maybe again, maybe F6. But look at Karjakin's amount of time that he has. Look at that, 5 minutes only, whereas his opponent has 20, almost 23 minutes. So F6. Okay. I would play probably something like Bishop H4 and then Bishop G3, but he decided to take first. And look at that move, Bishop F4. Yes, very, very nice. Not combination, but just I would say a couple of moves. Look at that. So if Queen takes, Rook takes, and Rook will be very, very active here. So he wants simply to take this Rook, and maybe because Black moved to F6 pawn, Rook will move to E7. I think that Rook E7 will be a very solid. There will be a very solid position for White. Queen D7. Of course, he doesn't want to capture this bishop. He doesn't want to lose this bishop on E6. We talked about its significance and importance because it is blocking this isolated pawn. A3. Finally, he has done it. And Knight C6. Yeah. So now this isolated pawn will be an object of attack or attacks, I would say, for Black. Well, Rook C1, I think this is the move that needs to be made. Maybe Bishop E3, because now I see Bishop G4. So let's have a look at that. Just a second. Knight C6, Rook C1, yeah, Bishop D5, Rook D2. Yes, he just wants to attack, to defend this pawn, because after Bishop takes F3, Queen can take F3. And what will happen in this position, by the way? Knight takes D4. Look at that. It will be Queen D1. And some problems will be for Black. So Rook will take C1 inevitably. Queen takes C1 and Queen A4. And by the way, White can avoid this pin, but look at the initiative. Both White heavy pieces, Rook and Queen, are on the open files, and I think that Bishop E3 can be played sooner or later, and as the computer says B4, so they have some White has some kind of initiative. So Rook D2 was the last move in this position. Okay, let's have a look at Jan Nepomniachtchi's game. If you remember, he played King F8, and his opponent spent a lot of time thinking what to play. So Jan has 16 minutes. It's so typical of him because he usually spends very little time, whereas his opponent has 8 minutes or about 9 minutes. So, sorry, King F8. So they actually didn't make a lot of moves. King F8, Queen F2. Well, King F2, Queen F2 can be made. Why not? But I think it was quite passive. He wanted, of course, to defend pawns on C2, maybe in the future B2, but I disagree with that move because it was rather passive. I think that Queen should be very, very close to the center. Queen A5. Yeah, so now Jan is starting to attack. Queen A5, he attacks A2 pawn, A3. Obviously, yeah, that's the move that should be made in this position. Maybe King B1 should be made as well. And I think that is the problem of any long castle, because when you castle your king to the queen side, you have to defend this pawn on a2 somehow, whether you should play a3 to have this pawn on b2 defending this pawn on a3, or you play king b1. That is some kind of problem because you lose tempo, you lose some time for that. Okay, a3. So quite equal position, although I think that of course black has some problems with the king, but I don't see how white can simply attack the king right now in this position. At the same time, I can see that black is trying to attack the queen side, and that is why. And in this area, black is much better, much quicker than white here on the king side. Okay. Of course, when opponents have opposite castles, the major plan is to attack with the pawns on the side where your opponent's king is located. So for example, for black, maybe to attack with pawns, but I think that black will try more or less to move forward pawn on b5 and maybe b4, and of course rook and bishop and knight and queen should attack this king. Whereas white can play, for example, bishop d3. I doubt that bishop d3 can be so secure. Maybe bishop e2 and try to place the rook on f1 maybe to attack this f file, to attack f7 pawn. This can be the major plan for black and white. Let's look at that move. So a3 was played, and Jan Nepomniachtchi, after about 2 minutes of thinking, decided to play rook c5. So now he wants simply to attack the pawn on d5, but as you can see, the computer doesn't really support him, doesn't really share that opinion. Bishop d2 is set with bishop e3 potentially. Okay, so after that attacking the rook. So bishop d2, yes, queen should move to, for instance, I don't know, b6. I think that maybe b6. In this move, bishop e3 is fatal, because it will be, look at that move, knight g4, with the possibility to play queen b2 later. So if pawn takes, it will be queen b2, king has to move to d2, and rook will take the pawn here. So it will be a real damage for white in this position. Okay. Next game is Bahadur Jobava's game. I'll try to use a touchpad because I know that computer mouse is a bit noisy. It's too loud. So rook a1, yeah, we saw that. Rook b d8 and rook e1. Bishop goes to d7. So what is it for? I think that first of all, f5 move should be played sooner or later, and maybe one more aim is maybe to have the bishop that can control both sides, because if we talk about only this diagonal, it's not really working. So bishop d3, rook has to defend this pawn, and look at that, he has played with d8, with the rook on d8 to e8, because he wants to have this rook on f8 in order to play f5 maybe by the next move. Look at that, queen g3, queen g3, and honestly I don't know why black doesn't play f5 in this position. Well, the computer says rook d e2 will be played. Yeah, I agree with that, because this pawn will be under attack, and we can't move e4 because queen can take this queen. We can't move to f4 probably, because you will see this well, queen g5 as well, good move, just attacking this pawn, 3 pieces attack this pawn, and as well as these white squares. For black, for Ivan Salgado, they will be very, very weak. So that is why he can't do that simply. So that is why rook e7. Yes, I agree with that move. Rook de2, rook fe8. Now I think Bahadur should do something with the move f5, because if black moves to f5, then next move will be queen f6, I think, and black will feel very comfortable in this position. So that is why he needs to create something in order to prevent black from f5 move. The computer doesn't really think about preventing. So computer is thinking about b3 move, and black can simply play f5. Okay, Bahadur has less time. He has 8 minutes and 25 seconds, whereas his opponent has 12 minutes. So Bahadur needs to be careful. Next, Sergey Karjakin's game. So to forward. And by the way, Vasily Ivanchuk is still playing. That is an interesting game as well. If we have time, we will talk about that, but I think we need to talk about Sergey Karjakin's game. So let's just cover the games that we have started covering. So rook d2, rook fe8, h3, bishop takes, and pawn takes. So something happened in this position. Queen can't take, because look at that, knight d4. We can't take on c8 because queen will be captured. And if we play, look at that, very, very interesting variation. If we play queen d1, we have knight e2. So look at that move. For instance, rook takes the knight. Yes, that can be right move. Queen takes, and queen takes. So I think that Sergey made some mistakes. Now he had to take this bishop with the pawn. That was the mistake. G takes f3. Well, now queen can take h3 easily, but there will be d5 move. d5, and Anton needs to calculate some variations related to d5. Well, where can he move in response to d5? Probably knight e5 is the best option. I think that rook c8 is the move that should be made. Why can't, for example, Anton play knight f3? Because queen will take, rook takes, as you can see, and this pawn on d5 will be damaging. So, for example, king f7, rook e3, as you can see, and even if queen takes, just d6 and that's it. It will be so difficult to do something with this pawn. Actually impossible. This is a winning position for white. That is why in this variation that I showed you, d5, knight e5, simple. So for example, and here rook c8, yes, we can't simply take this pawn. So the right move will be rook takes c8. Now we have to take this knight, otherwise we will lose our queen. So bishop takes, obviously pawn takes, and d6. d6 moves forward. So what about now? What about this position? Does black have any kind of advantage, or white, for instance? Well, computer says king f8. King f8 can be a move. What next? So I think that in this position, if black doesn't find really something worthwhile, black can simply give checks to the king. I don't know, for instance, maybe take this pawn, because I think it will be very difficult to protect this pawn forever for white queen, sorry. So here you can see rook c2 move, and rook doesn't take, rook d8. So this pawn will be captured sooner or later, and I think it will be very, very equal position, because if black takes this pawn, white will take maybe this pawn, and it will be very, very close to an equal position. But it is very important to understand that white does not need, I would say not does not need, but mustn't exchange both rook and queen, because any pawn ending here is fatal for white. Okay, so d5 move was made, and now we are waiting. So let's move forward. Look at Sergey Karjakin's amount of time that he has. I don't think that's a good thing. Of course, he's a very good blitz player, but in this position, he needs to think carefully. He needs to play very meticulously, and now he has only about 3 minutes. But again, Sergey is a very stable chess player. He's not a chess player who can lose, I don't know, to a very weak player. But we can see that Anton Smirnov is very mature player. His style is very mature, so very impressive game. Next, Jan Nepomniachtchi. So Jan is playing against Croatian Grandmaster Mladen Pelak. So the last move was played rook c5, and as I told you, bishop d2 is the correct move in this position. Otherwise, this pawn will be captured. Queen a4 move. Yeah, so Jan doesn't really want to move back. He wants to attack. He wants to play aggressively, especially taking into account the fact that this is his area, rapid and blitz chess. Bishop e3, rook goes back to c8. I think that bishop is on a better square right now. e3 is a better square. King b1. As you can see, computer shows slight advantage for white, and I agree with that, because king is on b1 right now. I mean white king, and black king is on f8, which is not a very good square. Next game is Bahadur's game. Bahadur Jobava, the strongest Georgian player. He's from Georgia, so he's playing at home, and of course a lot of Georgian fans really want him to show a very, very solid, strong game, and of course try to win in the first round. He needs to do that. He's stronger than his opponent in terms of rating, in terms of, I think, chess experience. So look at that. Rook e7, rook e2, rook e8, queen g5. Yes, so I told you that there should be a move that prevents black from f5 move. But now, at this time, I can play, for instance, I don't know, f6 for instance, and then f5 maybe sooner or later, or maybe even h6. But I think h6 is a problem, because if he wants to play f5, h6 is just one more weakness. So queen g5, f6, queen g3, f5, yes, that's what he wanted to do. And I can be wrong, but maybe queen g5 could be a good move in this position. Queen g5, not to let queen f6, because look at that potential diagonal on a1, h8. This diagonal can be very, very powerful for both, by the way, black and white, but I think for black mostly. Ivan decided to play Bahadur decided to play f3, queen f6. Yes. So potentially in any chess ending, Bahadur would have a real advantage. But what about now? Queen g5. I totally agree with that move, because look at that. Queen is so powerful here. It can move to e4 at any time and then take b2 pawn. Any comfortable, if there's appropriate time, it can be played. That is why I think Bahadur understands that he needs to exchange with the queens. h4. Wow, that is the move that I could expect. Queen takes f6 and g takes f6. So what can be the plan in this position for black? First of all, I don't really I think that bishop should move to diagonal b1 h7. This diagonal should be conquered by black bishop. King f2, and of course g pawn. Yes, so as you can see, very quickly both players understood that e file is not so decisive right now. G file is even more decisive. So maybe Ivan can play f4 with the pawn f4, and maybe bishop can sooner or later play, well, I don't know, right now it can't move there, but I can see potentially f5, f4 pawn with f5 and e4. Is it possible? That's a good question here. I think that king should move to f7 and rook should move to g8. So two rooks should be on the g file in this position. Do not really believe the computer in this situation, because this position is not really very equal. This position has some interesting plans, interesting strategies for both pieces. So it's sharp, it's not very quiet position. Look at the time. Bahadur has 4 minutes and 40 seconds, whereas his opponent has slight time advantage, 7 minutes. Oh, actually 7 minutes. Okay, let's move to another game. Okay, I just googled here and I realized that Mladen Palec as it's called in English, this surname. But again, it's not very important, I think. I doubt that my mispronunciation can really affect his game. So where is it? Where's Sergey's game? Here it is. So d5, knight e5, rook takes c8, as we actually expected. Queen takes c8. Look at that move, by the way. Queen takes c8. So he decided to move his queen to c8 square. I kind of disagree with that, because I guess that probably queen was in a very good square. But we saw at the same time, I can tell you that we saw that when rook is on c8, queen is at certain time period, it's kind of superfluous. It's not playing. So maybe Anton decided to move his queen to another square, maybe another side of the chessboard. d6. Okay, Sergey decides to play d6, and I'll tell you why. Because now queen can move to b3, and first of all, it can conquer this diagonal a2 g8, and it can attack this pawn on b7. But first of all, yes, it's a very good move for Sergey. He needs to play king g2 first of all in order to defend this pawn, so queen will be free to go anywhere queen wants, and to prevent from the move queen h3. Knight g6. So obviously bishop g3, there is no other move. So now he has another plan: knight f6, knight f8, knight e6, and maybe he wants to play g5, maybe. Or he just wants to keep his knight there, maybe to play c5. So I don't really see the plan for this knight. Rook c2. So look at that. So while Anton is trying to create some quite strange plans, Sergey is playing in a standard way. Standard, but at the same time effective. 96, queen d5. Of course, queen d5. Of course. If you remember, I told you that f6 pawn brought some kind of disadvantage and, of course, weakness. This diagonal is weak now. Queen is on d5. Okay, so Sergey has only 1 minute and 39 seconds, whereas his opponent has 5.5. So king f8. Yes, he needs to avoid this pin. But look at the computer analysis. Now it's much better. Queen f5. Yes, another pin, and it's not only a pin. It's just simply double attack. So he attacks this pawn on h7. Yeah, I think that this move was not wise, was not very deep in terms of thinking. Yeah, he made a small mistake here, because now after queen f5, and Sergey of course understands that king maybe should move to g8, move back, and it will be another attack. So maybe, for example, king moves to g8, rook c7, and knight can't take this rook because of losing the queen. So this position is definitely winning, because queen d8, and it can be, for instance, queen d5 move with one more pin, and rook b7 after that, and we'll just take the pawns. So queen f5. Yes, I think this is serious, dramatic change in this position. Now it is a definite advantage, certain advantage for white. Okay, next game. If you want to see some other games, please write in live chat. So look at that. Jan Nepomniachtchi made a draw against his opponent. I think that it was justified, because I think for Jan it was really difficult to find something worthwhile. So what was bishop b3 was the last move we saw. Rook c8, king b1, of course, and look at that, queen e4. Rook d4, queen goes to g6, bishop d3, of course knight takes, obviously, and rook takes. So queen f6, yeah, queen takes, bishop takes, and yeah, it's simply a lot of exchanges here. Rook takes d4, h5, and it's very difficult to do something in this position. Yes, rook f1, and this pawn will not be captured, of course, because of f6 pawn move. So yeah, maybe it was the right decision. Now these two players are waiting for other pairings to finish. Let's have a look at Bahadur Jabava's game. Again, draw. Yes, it was a draw, and of course there were a lot of pieces. It would be very difficult to do something, especially in this position. Position is closed. Yeah, I think just Bahadur didn't see any plan, and I would say, let alone me, any plan how to actually manage to win this position. So I agree, I definitely agree that in this position it would be very difficult to win. Maybe they both, and I mean Jan Nepomniachtchi and Bahadur Jabava, decided just to save some energy for the second game. Okay, so now we can talk only about Sergey Karjakin's game. Sergey Karjakin's game, so look at that. It is all very, very quick. Rook c8, which is a very bad move according to the computer. Rook c7, yes, Sergey Karjakin is very, very precise. In any stressful position, he doesn't really make many mistakes, because he is psychologically very, very well equipped chess player. Rook takes, pawn takes, and this pawn on c7 is a real threat. So he decided to play queen c2, which was not the best move according to the computer. Of course, he doesn't have much time. He has to play very quickly, to play blitz, I would say. Bishop d6 was an interesting move. Very interesting. Of course, it was. He didn't see that. Queen c2. He played queen c2. So sorry, queen c8. Queen d3. Yes, knight can't take this pawn on c7 because it will be queen d6. And this knight will be captured. King goes to f7. Yeah, that was an obvious move. Queen d5. One more pin. So yes, there is some advantage for white, definitely because of this pawn on c7. And I think that of course it will not be very difficult for Sergey to find a plan to play something. But look at the amount of time. a4, so g5 was the move that was played by Anton Smirnov, and a4. So what does Sergey wants to do with a pawns? I think he wants to play, for example, b4, a5, b5, b6. He really needs to defend this pawn on c7. h5 move, by the way. b4. Yeah, bishop can move to d6 without a problem. Yes, unfortunately for Anton, these three pawns on the king side can't really do anything. Just bishop d6. Of course, chess players don't have to make annotation, and that is why they can make these moves quite quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see some other games, please leave a message and we'll cover some other games. And subscribe to the channel. Channel is TakercomLive. Tomorrow we will see the second round. So today there will be a lot of quick games. First it's rapid 25 minutes, then it will be probably 15 minutes, and then it will go to blitz. Each time control will take 2 games. b6 move, a5. So if pawn takes on this pawn on a5, we take with the queen. I think it would be better to take with the queen, but at the same time, look, we have an interesting plan. For example, pawn takes, and then queen c6 and a6. We move to a6 with the pawn. Yes, he decided to move a6. It was the right move. So what to play right now? Queen b3. Queen b3 is an obvious move. It should be played. Queen b3. To play queen b8. Yes. Sergey is very precise in this type of positions. So let me just show you queen b3, king e8, of course to move to d7 to protect the queen, queen a4, queen f7, queen c4. So he wants to move closer. I think that c6 is the square that needs to be king e8 again, queen c6, king f7, king h2. That is an interesting move to avoid any check or anything like that. Knight d4. I think that queen can move to f5 and then to h7, so it can attack black king from another side. Queen d5. Knight goes back to e6 and queen f5. As I told you, queen should be on f5 to attack from h7. Very difficult position here for black. Anton has to deal with these problems. And by the way, bishop e5 is a threat here in this position. So there are some threats. He has 2.5 minutes and Karjakin has 43 seconds. Believe me, for Sergey it's more than enough. Such strong grandmasters, they know what to do in these positions. They know that they can sometimes just make double repeat. They can repeat their moves twice, not 3 times, not to make the draw. And they can gain some time because there is increment. So he's thinking queen d7. Yeah, queen h7 should be played. I disagree with that move actually, because I think that queen h7 was a good move. Queen c8. Sergey needs to create a plan. Queen h7 should be played here. Queen h7 is a very, very important move. It's a winning position, he should be quicker. He has lack of time. What's the move? So, just a second. So bishop d6, yes, queen c8, bishop e5. Yeah, we haven't seen that. King e7, queen h7, king e8, bishop d6. Yes, and it's very, very difficult to do something with that. Right now, computer says 16 moves to checkmate. Yeah, that's it. Sergey is victorious in the first game. He played as white. Maybe for Anton it will be not so easy to relax after such a nervous game. But he needs to do something with that, because next game will be as white. He needs just to relax, psychologically to relax. Of course, it was a difficult game. Let's move on to the next games, some other games. What can we see here? So what about Vasily Ivanchuk? He's still playing maybe, or yeah, he has won his game against Kazakhstanian, probably Grandmaster. Okay, let's just look at Etienne Bacros's game against Brazilian Grandmaster Alexander Fier. So now it's the 62nd move. Etienne is playing as white. He has a certain advantage here. Pawn on a3 is very weak. No, computer doesn't really understand that. Computer doesn't see that. Is it really? I think the problem is that king can move to f5 and e4 very quickly. Yeah, so, but at the same time, look, I don't really understand. Knight a7, knight b5. Knight a7, not b5. That is a clear plan in this position. Why not? So he played, just a second, he played king f5, king b4, king b3, bishop c1, and knight b4. King e4. I think that was a mistake to give him this place and opportunity to play to make a move on e4. I think he should have just simply played knight a6, knight b5. Okay, now, of course, black king is very, very active. At the same time, there is a move knight c5 right now. Yeah, knight f5, knight c5. Yeah, it should be draw. They're not making any precise moves in this position. I think that king should be on c2 and knight should try to take this pawn. I think this is a much better plan. King goes back and yeah, knight. Maybe king c2 right now can be played. King c2. Yeah, bishop goes to h6, of course, to play f8. Bishop f8. Knight c5 right now. Knight c5. King f5 and king b3, and that will be the same. Yeah, it is a draw. It is a draw in this position. Let's have a look at other games. I think it is a simple draw. Boris Grachov is playing against Armenian Grandmaster Khan Melkumyan. Wow, quite unusual position. And by the way, it's funny that it's equal because if pawn moves forward, rook takes this pawn, rook takes this pawn. So now it's b7, of course. Hrant is playing as white and Boris is playing as black. So rook a7 will be played. Queen goes to b8. Yeah, it's a draw as well. It's a draw as well. Pawn moves forward. It's impossible to stop this pawn and to take the rook as well. Yeah, it's a draw. It's a draw here. Next game. Hare Krishna, Indian Grandmaster, is playing against Cuban Grandmaster. Yeah, it seems like a draw because 3 pawns against 2 pawns on the same side. It is actually impossible to do with that. Yeah, they just need to make a draw and that's it here. So there are not actually any games left, except for one game with Etienne Bacro. Again, let's just see. Yeah, all games. Just a second. No, one game left. Only one game left. Why are they playing this position? Don't know. It is equal. Especially if even someone has an extra pawn. For example, bishop can be sacrificed for this pawn, or knight can be sacrificed for another pawn. It doesn't make sense to play this chess ending. Okay, now it's a pawn, potential pawn to move forward. Knight d3 is a very good move. So bishop will move to g5 and d8. What's the plan for black? To exchange pawns c3, d5 and to sacrifice the bishop. Take the pawn on a2. That is it. Bishop g5. Bishop e8. Okay. It will take some time, I think. If he plays to e5, it means that he wants to play e6, d7, c6. It will definitely take some time. Yeah. So computer changed his mind, but if it's a really winning position, I don't think so. I think that there was a wrong strategy with king. King should be here, because if we just defend our pieces without any threat that we can make, I don't think it can be promising. So that is a mistake. Okay, a5. How to move it forward from a5? It's a good question for me. King c6 probably. King c5, king c4, and then sacrifice the bishop. Yeah, maybe that is a good move as well. Knight d4, king d7. Okay. I cannot disagree with that move. Yeah, king b5, king b7, or king d7, king d7. No, king d7, a6. So it goes to a8. And now it's a problem. So knight e6. I think that another pawn will be captured as well. Now it can be some kind of trouble. So knight c7 is a move now. With the knight takes d5. And here I think Alexander Fier will suffer a bit. I think that was a mistake, huge mistake that he made. Because he decided to move with his king to move to that pawn. That was the mistake. Knight c3, knight e4, and c5. Okay, knight d3. c5 is impossible now because bishop can take c5, king takes c5, and it's stalemate. I don't really understand what's the problem to play here in this position. So knight should be somewhere where it can really attack this pawn on c5. Knight e4. Knight e4 move must be played. And c5 after that, that's it. c5. So knight should be on I think knight should be on e6 square. Yes, knight c5, knight e6. Now I think it will be a very good move to play. No, knight king b1 is king b8 is impossible. So knight e6, knight e6 for Etienne Bacrot. By the way, it can be a nice variation. If knight goes to c8, king goes to b8, a7. And if this king goes to a8, king goes to a6, and king and knight on b6 checkmate. But they are playing something different. Position is winning. After bishop takes the pawn, it will be knight d7, king goes anywhere, and c7 and c8. That is it. So the first part of tiebreak is finished. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have 5-minute break, and after that I'll come back and we will cover other games. Okay, so let's just have 5-minute break. All right. So let's start some games. Here they are. Karjakin Sergey against Smirnov Anton. Anton is playing as white. d4, now f6. Nemtsovich. Now Nemtsovich just Queen's Gambit. So it goes to chess ending actually almost now. Black king is without the castle. That's not principally important. It's just here without queens. It's not something that black must do. Position is equal. Okay, let's have a look at other games. Jan Nepomniachtchi. He made a draw in the first game. He played as black. Now he's playing as white. He needs to win if he wants to avoid blitz and all other stages today. Najdorf variation. Knight b3, 6. Okay, g4. Yes. It was also called this variation with g4 Keres variation. Paul Keres was an Estonian grandmaster. So look at that. In this position, white does not really care about this pawn. So what if this bishop takes this pawn? It will be bishop takes, queen takes, and queen takes d6. So that is why you can't simply take the pawn. Knight c6, f4, castle, queen h5. Well, Jan has a better position, I think, a bit better. First of all, he has initiative. He just needs to attack further, move forward, because his opponent is not so weak, as we found out. Probably it could be f5 move with g6. Maybe first bishop e3 and then f5 g6. Next. Bahadur Jobava is playing. French defense. He's playing as black. Yeah, bishop goes to c6. Knight f6, another knight is going to f6. Yeah, queen d5 even. Okay. Castle. Well, in this position, bishop d6 should be played, I think. Short castle. And white should play c4 and knight e5. Okay. Sergey Karjakin's game. Let's have a look at this game. I think I'm going too far. Knight takes, and king goes to e7. Rook d8, a3. So now this bishop wants to move to c5. Look at that move, knight d4. He's attacking bishop, another bishop in response, but I doubt that after taking the bishop, so now it's Anton's move. What if he takes this bishop? Knight takes this bishop, then bishop c5, for example. Will it be good? Computer shows king d7, maybe to c6. I agree with that. c6 is a very secure place, maybe, because rook can move to c1. So let's say rook d1, king e8, okay, and you can't attack this knight, so you can play knight d6, okay, very possible. Anton is thinking. Now he has less time. Я не помнящий. As I said, bishop e3, yes, he wants to move forward. Probably sooner or later f5 would be a very good move. f5 probably with bishop h3. So f5, bishop h3, but let's have a look at this. So queen h5 and g6. Queen h6, rook e8, bishop e3. Yeah, so bishop of course can easily move to f8 and g7. But at the same time, this pawn on h2 can then move, after this queen moves somewhere, it can move to h5, exchange, king f2, and rook will move to h1. So there are some variations of what Jan can do in this position against Palitz, Mladen Palitz. Next. Bahadur Jobava's game. So why did I start from the beginning? Good question. So bishop d6, as I said, it was played. It was a good move. c4, yes, castle. Rook e1. Okay. Maybe bishop g5 will be played as white. So Bahadur Jabava made a draw against Ivan Salgado Lopez, whereas Sergey Karjakin was victorious. So Sergey needs only a draw. Bahadur needs to win if he wants to avoid other stages of tiebreak. And Jan Nepomniachtchi, he has the same situation as Bahadur Jabava. Let's have a look at the game of Vasily Ivanchuk. So Vasily has won in the first game. Now he has some advantage in the second game. So let's have a look at this game from the beginning. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, king Indian defense. Bishop d3, that is an interesting move. Usually bishop e2 is played. Knight e2, knight c6, e5, d5, okay. Knight d4, takes. Yeah, so now, of course, white can take this pawn on d4, but at the same time, pawn on e4 will be captured, and I think that this pawn on e4 is much more important than on d4. That is why he's playing f3, c5, bishop g5. Yeah, and black tries to attack on the queen side. Okay. So pawn on d6 will be an objective for Vasily Ivanchuk. He needs to attack this pawn, and maybe he needs to attack. Well, it will be very strange how to move white knight to c4. That would be something that Vasily is willing to consider. How can he do that? So first of all, right now I can see move b4. So rook b8, and I think b4 should be played right now. Let's see what the computer says, but b4 is a good move. It seems to be a very good move. Yes, it is. b4, pin, it must be played. It must be played. Just thinking. Okay. Sergey Karjakin. So the same, no, not the same situation. Let's move. A takes b4, knight takes bishop c5 as we expected, knight d7, and yes, e8. So the same thing we expected. Rook e1, so now it will be knight g5. b6 first, bishop goes back, and I think that h6 can be played. Can be played right now. h6. And after that, rook c8. Yeah, it would be very difficult for Anton Smirnov to do something in this game against Sergey Karjakin. First of all, Anton has h6 as I expected. First of all, Anton has double pawns on b file, so his pawn structure is worse than Sergey's pawn structure. That's number one. Number two, I don't really see any weakness that Sergey has, because it's difficult to do something with this king on e8 right now. So knight c3, okay? Knight can simply take the knight, and again there will be a real advantage that that black has, because rook after that can attack on c8, can attack this pawn, and moreover bishops will be of different colors. That is why I don't see how white can gain advantage in this position after exchange. But the computer says knight d4. That can be a good move. Bishop will have to take, for instance, rook takes. I agree with that, but I think that capturing this knight would be safer for Sergey. Next game. Jan Nepomniachtchi. Now he's playing as white. He has a slight advantage. Queen is on h3 and bishop will go to g7. It will not be very easy in this position to gain a considerable advantage, but I think that he needs to play f5, maybe bishop d4, but then it will be e5. If he plays bishop d4, e5 will be played. Jan has more time, 6-minute advantage. Here's Bahadur Jabala. Bahadur is playing as black. Their position is very equal. He's trying to exchange, so I don't really see any kind of advantage that can be gained for black. I think that this game will proceed, and their rivalry will proceed till the blitz stage. So the second stage of today's tiebreak, I think, will be inevitable. So there is no response to the move knight c3. I don't know why, because let's just test on the chess program. What if he takes? Again, it's equal as I expected. So why not? Why doesn't he do that? Don't understand. Let's look at how he finds. Not how he finds. I'm sorry, Vasily Ivanchuk's position, because I think that his position is the most interesting out of these positions that we covered so far. Yeah, of course he played b4. His opponent played queen b6. And look at the move that was recommended by chess program. Rook f b1. That should be a move. He made rook f c1. Bishop b7, queen d2. Yeah, so it disagrees with that move. I think that even before that, rook f b1 was better to protect this pawn on b5 and then just to try to move it forward. So rook bc8. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow I'll be streaming live on Twitch. There is a website twitch.tv, so you can easily find me on this website, twitch.tv, and you can just simply search my nickname, TakercomLive. So I'll be there on Twitch. Rook a8. Yeah, so in this position, if for example pawn takes the pawn, knight takes the pawn, computer says king h1, yes, to avoid all these pins, possible pin. But I would say that bishop g3 and bishop f2 in this position could be even more interesting. What if bishop g3? It says f5. Well, we take. Knight takes on d3. We take the knight, of course. Queen, rook e3, for instance. Okay. Queen d2, d3, and bishop f2. So why not? It can be played something like that. And white has much better position. So I think that bishop should be played on g3. That is a good place for a bishop. Okay, he decided to play king h1. Let's move to Sergey Karjakin's game. No, I didn't want to do that. Sergey Karjakin became Grandmaster under the Russian flag quite recently. Before that, he played under the Ukrainian flag. He explained that decision that he didn't see further development. Of course, I can agree with him because Russia has much more tournaments than Ukraine. Russia is a bigger country, and it is much easier to play in the top tournaments in Russia. Much easier. So rook d6 was played by Sergey Karjakin. It's an equal position, very difficult to do something here, especially with the person like Sergey. He's a very strong chess player, so knight b5, rook d2. I don't really see how it can be possible to defeat Sergey. So again, I want to remind you that tomorrow I'm going to stream live on twitch.tv. Just search me. You can just find me by searching my nickname, TakercomLive. Выводя помощи. Equal position. F file is open for him, but it's difficult to control it. I mean, to move somewhere on this file. For example, rook f8 is not impossible. It's not possible to play right now as black, but at the same time, white can't move anywhere further. They can move to, for example, f4, and possibly they can move to h4. But if rook is on h4, bishop is on h8, and everything is easily protected. So it will be difficult to succeed here. Rook d1. Yeah, I think he understood that there is not much game on f file. Next, let's have a look at the next game. So I would say that classical chess games in classical chess in the first two days were more aggressive, more I would say more active than now. So now what I see, most players try to exchange, which is of course not very interesting for us, for viewers. But that is their strategy. Maybe they really need to do that. Maybe some of them believe that blitz will be their moment of glory. Why not? Bishop b4. The only move here is rook e2, or maybe bishop d2. And I think that bishop on c3 will sound much better. So bishop d2. If bishop on b4 goes somewhere, we put bishop on c3. If not, we just take it. It can be e5 move. Oh, look at that, rook f1. I think that rook f1 was played in order to avoid all the possible pins, because, for instance, we play rook e2, and it can be e5 right now. No, c6. C6, really. So I think c6, and after that it can be played e5. So c6 is played. Why? Because if we play e5, it will be d5. Now if we play e5, we have to deal with that. But at the same time, look, e5 will be played. For instance, we will play d5 even in this position. So I think that rook e2 was not a very bad move. H3 move means Anton doesn't have a real plan here. He doesn't have a real plan. Rook d7. Yeah, d7 rook is it's the best square for the rook, because now rook on a8 can move to d8 without a problem, or maybe even on c8. But if it moves to c8, knight b5 will happen, but that's not a problem again. Rook c2 will be played. I don't really understand why he decided not to play rook d2. So look at that, rook d2. So rook e2 probably. Oh no, knight b5. Okay, knight b5, what else? Rook takes b2. Knight c7, okay, for instance. Rook d8. Knight takes e pawn, we take. Rook takes a7. And maybe some problems for Sergey. Maybe he decided not to do that. Some initiative or something like that. But if rook takes b4, what's the problem here? Rook takes e6, okay. Rook d1, hit h2, rook d2, rook c6, yes, to give checkmate, rook e4, king g3, rook e7, rook takes, king takes, and rook takes the pawn, and here it's draw. So maybe he was just scared of getting into trouble. Okay, so rook d7, b5, rook c8, and rook a4. So rook wants to move, another rook wants to move to a1. I think now it's absolutely clear rook d2 is a good move. Or maybe rook c5, by the way, as computer suggests. This is a good move as well. Yeah, here it's really difficult to do something. So rook c4, Yeah, rook a1, just take the rook, of course. It's simply impossible to take that pawn. How can he do that? Rook d2 right now. How is it impossible? Or as the computer suggests, king e7, king can move to b8, or I don't know, or maybe b7. It will be difficult to, maybe white knight wants to move to e2 and d4. Maybe, yeah, that can be a plan, and to play c6. But is it something so dangerous? I don't think so. King e7, obviously. So king d6 and king d6 and king c5 can be played as well. And then bishop c4. Pawn can be captured. Of course, if king d6 is played, knight can be moved to e4. But then king will move to e5, rook on d5. So again, not a big problem. Yeah. Well, king c5. Why not? Rook c7. Why not? I think the king c5 is a good move. King c5, maybe b4 will be played. Okay, rook c7. Rook c7. Rook c7, yes, of course. Let's move to the next game. Я не помню. Mladen pallets. Okay. Queen e8 was the last move. So it seems to be a good position, by the way, for Jan, but how to make it a winning position? That is the problem. Maybe he's playing b3. He's playing b3 right now. Maybe bishop will be on d4, but now rook is attacking pawn on d6. Let's move to the next game. Bahadur Jabala. Rook f1. Yeah, so Bahadur is just playing solid chess without any plans to win the game. At the same time, now his pawn is quite it is in the center and quite active. Maybe Ivan takes the pawn. Bishop takes. By the way, it happened in the game. B2 pawn can be quite weak, and C4 pawn as well. So now he has something. But at the same time, look at F5 pawn. It is weak as well. So queen should be on this square, maybe to protect F5 square, F5 pawn. They both have about 7 minutes. Next. What about Vasily Ivanchuk? He is playing as white, and the computer says that he has a definite computer advantage. Computer says positional advantage. Well, let's try to understand what's happening here. First of all, he has more pawns, and these pawns are quite dangerous, real threat, by the way. So knight can be on c6, and it will be difficult to do something, but he decided to play bishop f1 instead. That's quite strange. I think that knight on c6 would be a good move. Two pawns will be moved forward. Bishop will have to take, and another pawn, for example d5 pawn, will take to c6 and then b6, and difficult to stop them. Yeah, but he has a better position, so I think that Vasily Ivanchuk is moving to the next round. Yeah, here Sergey has even a better position right now. Bishop c4 is a real threat, so let's have a look at this. So rook e3, rook b4, rook d3, king c5, or rook d2, rook d4, rook c2, and king moves forward. King e3. So yeah, king is almost next to this rook. So rook c4 can be played soon. And Anton has less time. 3-minute advantage. It's not very much, but there is one more factor that says that it's difficult to win this game for Anton Smirnov, because he has to win. He needs to do that. Otherwise, he'll say goodbye to this tournament. But There's no other way actually. He can't. He doesn't manage to do that. 92. Yeah, not the best move. Simply king takes. So knight d4, king b4 goes back to b3 and attack pawn on b2. Nothing fantastic, but that will definitely bring positive result for Sergey Karjakin. a5, yeah, good move, a5 for black right now, just to move both pawns forward. a5, king c2. Yeah, king can move to b5 and a6. Simply a6, right? So it is no way Sergey can lose this position. Just no way. f4. He wants to play f5, but bishop d5. And it attacks the pawn on g2, and all the squares, white squares, are under control. I think that bishop d5 and after that b5, b4, and what to do next in this position. Yeah, a4 by the way. So a4, b5, b4. Yeah, bishop d5 here. Let's have a look at Jan Nepomniachtchi's game. Again, one more draw. It is another draw, and well, of course he has a lot of chances, but he needs to be very careful. I think that the draw will be here as well. It's very likely to be a draw. Equal material position. What about Vasily Ivanchuk? What about his position? Let's have a look. He's still playing and he has positional advantage. First of all, because of his pawn on b5, and now he is attacking both rook on a5 and knight on e4. So how to deal with that situation? It's impossible to do something here. Maybe bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, but how to defend the knight on e4? It is impossible to do that, so that's why the position is definitely winning. His opponent needs to resign. It's impossible to do something here. So let's, okay, I understand that here it's a very clear position. Let's have a look at Karjakin's game. Let's just stop here and stream this game till the end. So bishop is on c4. Yeah, Sergey is moving forward, simply moving forward. Nothing fantastic, nothing genius, just he's moving forward. What about king a5, by the way? I mean, first of all, we need to take the pawn, of course, and after that king a5 to go to b4. I think this can be something. Computer says even rook e7. Yeah, that can be a good move because king will have to move somewhere but not forward. He takes, and I think that pawn will take. Rook g5. Wow, I didn't expect that. Rook g5. Well, simply g6. f6 can be played as well, but I think with g6 there will be not so many problems. Of course, g6 f5. Yes, we have to think about f5 move. Maybe in that respect, maybe rook e7 would be first good move. Then maybe f6. Why not? But I'm thinking about king f5. So what can black do with the king f5 if we play f6? Okay, he has played f6. Rook c5. Okay. King a5. King a5 should be played to go to b4. I think that is an obvious way to win in this game. King a5. We need to move to b4. Of course, king a5. Rook c8. Okay. What is it about? King b4, of course. And rook b8. Why doesn't Sergey play rook e7 in this situation? And then rook e4 maybe. Yeah, rook e7, okay. King f3, for example. Then we can play king c5, or maybe bishop d5. But if we play bishop d5, pawn on b5 will be under attack. King c5, okay. So knight f5 can be played, bishop d5. Knight c2. Quite interesting move. Oh, bishop d5. Yeah, that's the only way to play here. With maybe rook e4. Depends on where your opponent, his opponent is playing. But maybe if he plays king g3, I would play rook e2, of course, to attack the knight. Then can be an interesting move. Rook takes b5. I will take with my king. So for example, let's see that rook e2, rook b5, king takes, knight moves here, but king moves to c4, takes, and here it is. So there is no way to defend, so we will attack this pawn, and bishop c6. King on g4, take it, take. Where can we move? King f5, bishop e8, king e6, c3, king e7, bishop h5, f5, king d4, king f8, king e4, and here it's definitely winning position for black. Let's have a look. So king f2, rook e4, rook checks, bishop closes, yes, b4, definitely. It's very difficult here to play as white. I don't really see how you can manage to, at least to have a draw. Rook c4 is a very good move. And if knight goes to e3, then it will be rook f4. Rook c4, yes. Knight e3. Computer says rook c1, but I would also use rook f4. Yes. Sergey is listening to me. King e2. Okay. Well, simply a3. Of course. Of course, a3. Pawn takes. Rook a4. If knight c2, a2. I think Anton needs to resign in this position. So he's still playing a2, rook g1, yeah, and here that's it. So yeah, bishop b5, king d2, rook f2 would be a good move, king c3, and maybe even rook f1. Yeah, black can mate in 14 moves, so it's obvious that here Sergey is winning. Yeah, bishop f1, even a better move. So he needs to resign here. Yeah, that's it. So Sergey Karjakin is moving to the second round. Very confidently, he defeated Anton Smirnov in rapid chess. It was not very difficult for him. And in the next round, we don't know who he can play against, because Dubov Daniel and Daniel Friedman are still playing and they can't decide who the stronger chess player is who goes to the second round. So it's still some kind of puzzle. But let's have a look at the games that are left. And after this round, I'll try to make some kind of conclusion, who was successful, who wasn't, and then maybe we'll have a 3-minute break. So Demchenko Anton is playing against Areshenko Alexander, and we will not look at this game from the beginning, but first I'm going to tell you that Anton has an advantage, 2-1. And now Anton is playing as black and he has a lot of problems. I think that here he will not survive. He will lose. Because it's really very difficult to do something here. This position should be winning. Next. Let's move next. So Vasily Ivanchuk defeated his opponent and he'll face Polish Grandmaster Duda, who easily defeated his opponent Georgian Grandmaster Levan Pantsulaia. Anish Giri will face Alexander Matelov, and Hare Krishna is still playing, by the way. Someone is having considerable advantage. I think black, yes. So Hare Krishna is losing. Wow. He is losing. King d5 can be played right now, and it will be very, very difficult to do something. King c3, yes. Bishop c7, look at that move. Bishop c7. So bishop c7 should be played. Oh, so what was it? What was here? Knight d5, king d5, king c3, f3, f3. Look at that. Pawn takes, and by the way, guys, pawn takes. He plays bishop g3, and I can be wrong, but this position is equal. This position can be equal. 97, yes, of course, 97. This maybe was a mistake. King is 6, yes. Knight g6, obviously. King f6. That is a question, by the way, here. I don't really understand whether it's a draw or a real advantage that Hare Krishna's opponent has. King f6, okay. Yeah, Hare Krishna is losing. He is losing. The point is, if Hare Krishna comes to this square quicker than king, then it will be a draw. But now we can see that king g5, king e2, king h4, king f1. Oh, by the way, he's coming. He's coming to this square. Wow, it's a draw. Guys, it is a draw. It is a draw. Wow. Impressive. Impressive. It is a draw. And pawn can't move anywhere, so h4, king e2. Yeah, just it's impossible to win in this position. h3, king f1. That's it. That's it. But maybe look at that move. Look at that move. What about this move? King f2, king g5, d5, king moves here, d6, king takes the pawn, f4, takes the pawn, king f3, right? And there is no way, oh, bishop f4 maybe, one of the ways, king f2, and bishop goes back, and this is a draw. Simply because this king will move f1, f2, f1, f2, just it's impossible to do something with that. So it will be a draw. f4, king moves forward, d5, king f6, king f2, king f5, king f1. So Hare Krishna's opponent had real chance to win, but he made a mistake at the end. He made a mistake at the end. That was a bad move when he sacrificed his pawn. That was a really bad move. Yeah. But at the same time, look at that. For instance, we have this position, right? And black king will manage to move to g3 somehow. So for instance, so let's just imagine, yeah, it goes forward. Yeah, there is no way now. There is no way. King goes to g1. Now it is draw. Yeah. That is it here. That is it. Okay? It is a draw. So Hare Krishna will still play in the next stage of tiebreak. So who hasn't finished yet? Who hasn't finished the second game today yet? I think that everybody has finished. Let's quickly say who was victorious today and who went to the second round. So first of all, Etienne Bacro. He played 2 games. One game was a victory, another game was a draw. Etienne Bacro will face Bu Xianji in the next round. So we can see that Magnus Carlsen will face Alex Draev. But Bakrot Etienne will face Busanji. Peter Swidler, we don't know who he will face, because we have two players who have to decide who the better person is, who the stronger chess player is, who goes to the second round. So this game is left. Radoslav Vaitashik is playing against Anishuk Alexander. Vasily Lagrov is playing against Boris Grachov. Lenderman Alexander, we don't know who he will be playing against because one more game. So we have two games so far that need to be played. Alexander Grishuk is playing against Corey George, Grandmaster from Peru. I want to say Chile, but yeah, Peru. David Navarra will be playing against Cheparinov Ivan. Vladimir Kramnik, we don't know who he will be playing against, either Areshenko Alexander or Anton Demchenko. So these chess players will still be playing again, two games at least. Vasily Ivanchuk will play against Polish Grandmaster Duda. Anish Giri will be playing against Motelov Alexander. Hari Krishna and Gonzalez will be still playing, so we have four games now that will be active today. Panomarov Ruslan lost his game, and his opponent Seth Thuraman from India will play against Levon Aronian. Wow. Hoifan will play against Maxim Madlakov. Andreikin Dmitry was victorious today, and he will play against, can you imagine, Sergey Karjakin. Daniel Dubov. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, but Madlakov Maxim will be playing against Dmitry, Andreikin Dmitry. And Levon is playing against Hoifan. Wow, that is even more interesting. And Hari Krishna, if he wins, will play against another Indian Grandmaster. Next. So Dubov Daniel and Friedman Daniel will be playing against Sergey Karjakin, either of them. Rajabov Teimur will be playing against Artemy Vladislav. That will be very, very interesting. Wesley Saw will be playing against Matthias Bluebaum. Spanish Grandmaster Vallejo, Francisco Vallejo, will be playing against Evgeny Tomashevsky. We don't know about Yan Nepomniachtchi and this game as well, Adhiban, so they're still playing. So we have 7 games probably left. Yan Gui Yu was victorious, and he will be playing against the winner of this pair, Bahadur Jobava and Salgado Ivan. Hikaru Nakamura will be playing against Cuban Grandmaster Lazaro Bruzon. Vladimir Fedoseev will play against Ernesto Inarkiev, both Russian Grandmasters. Anand Vishwanathan Anand will play against Kovalyov Anton. Michael Adams will play against Rothstein Maxim. So 2 Armenian Grandmasters lost their games. Robert Hovhannisyan and Hran Melkumyan. They lost their games. And I can be wrong, but probably the only Armenian player left is Levon Aronian. Next, Fabiano Caruana will be playing, we don't know against who, Freycinet Loren or Luka Lenik. Nikita Vitugo will play against Evgeny Nair. Wei, he was victorious. Wow. So that impressive victory that Bator Sambuev created in the first game, fortunately didn't bring any result. And he'll be playing against Richard Rapport, probably from Hungary. Yeah, he's from Hungary. Grandmaster from China, Li Chao, will be playing against Sevian Samuel. He defeated, by the way, Livio Dieter Nisipiano. Shahryar Mamediyarov will be playing against Yuri Kuzubov. Boris Gelfand will be playing against Wang Hao. Dean Liren will be playing against Martin Kravtsev. And the last pair, Lekun Liam, will be playing against Santosh Vidit. So we have at least 8 games that are left. So that is why I think that which game will be the most interesting for us. Let's try to understand. So I don't think that we will broadcast this game. Let's move forward. Which game can be really interesting? David Howell can be interesting, why not? But I think that Hari Krishna's game is interesting, definitely. Demchenko Anton against Tereshchenko Alexander, it is interesting, but let's have a look at Hari Krishna's game. I think that we will talk about his game first and foremost. Hari Krishna's game. Oh, this game is very interesting. Dubov Daniel against Friedman Daniel. Very similar names. And Yan Nepomniachtchi, obviously, we will talk about this person, Yan Nepomniachtchi and Bahadur Jobava. Yeah, I think that Yan Nepomniachtchi, Bahadur Jobava will be 2 grandmasters who we will definitely watch. Yes. So I think that instead of a 3-minute break, we'll have some kind of entertainment. I'll play Blitz right now, only chess, if you don't mind. I'll play Blitz. I'll play 2-0 without increment. It is a new time control for me because on Lichess I haven't been playing it before. I think I'm going to play Karjakin. Okay, Queen d6 probably. No. I'm going to take this pawn and play d5. Knight f6. Bishop d6. So bishop d3 will be played, I think. Castle. Bishop f5. Knight d7 will be next. Simply try to develop my pieces. Rook e8. And I think that h6 was a good move. I didn't make it, but that's not a big problem. I'm going to make it right now. h6. If he moves to h4, I can even play g5, by the way. I take, move forward. So what's next? Queen g3, queen c7. Can you look at that? I attack his pawn, but of course he defended. Bishop g6, because this rook can take the bishop somehow. For example, knight can move to g5. Next, I think that I need to play f5. Rook f8 and rook, look at that. Pawn takes. Rook f8 and rook e8. That'll be my plan. Look at that. I think rook e8 will still be playing. Bishop e6 is nothing because rook can take. Maybe I'll play knight f6. Can I do that? Why not? Knight f6. Why don't I play this move? Okay, I will not make this move. King g7, just coming closer to my pieces. Okay, bishop h4. Take. Rook takes. Okay. I take this pawn. He takes, I take, obviously. Okay. Queen f7. Alright. So I'm moving closer and closer. Queen f5. If he moves g4, I play to f4. Check. Okay. What about this move? Knight g3. Wow. But I think I'm just going to take it. I'm going to take it. So this is it here. What can I do right now? I don't know. Probably this move is the most logical here. Well, sorry. Yeah. Oh, do we have new games? Can we see new games right now? I don't think so. Let's just refresh the page. Well, yeah, I know that my opponent wants to play a new game with me, but first things first, I need to ensure that there is no game that has started here. So I think no, there is no game started so far. Yes, let's have a look. Let's have another game. d4. My system is d4, knight f3, c3. He decided to stop the game. I don't know why. What happened? Queen b3. Yeah, I'm attacking b7 pawn. I think that next will be g5. I want to take it and to take this pawn on d5 as well. e3 with c4. I want to play c4. Knight c3. Bishop c4. Look at that. I prevent from d6. Bishop e2. Bishop c4. No problem. Rook c1. So he will not play b5 now, maybe. Castle. Maybe knight e5 was a good move. If he takes, I take, and knight e5. If nothing happens, well, here I think bishop e5 will be played. First, I go back, or maybe no. Oh yeah, I need to go back. I'm thinking about knight h4 right now. Knight h4 is a worthwhile variation here. He can play bishop h7, of course. Yes. What's next? e4. What if I play queen b3? He plays b4 and then my pawn will be hanging. No, queen e2. This pawn is hanging right now. Rook d1. Should I take? Yeah, I guess I'm going to take it. Should I play e5? Yeah, let's do that. This pawn will be weaker. Knight b5, by the way, I have this opportunity. Rook takes, rook takes. He doesn't have much time. So what can we do here? Take. Take. And that is it. Okay, maybe new opponent. So now I have a higher rating. Let's move here. Are they playing? No. Stop. They have made a draw. Again. So what is that about? I think I need to finish playing only chess. And I need to come back to the games. Yes, so Nepomniachtchi Yan decided to make a draw again. I don't really understand why. And the fifth game is also a draw. So both players believe that they can be blitzkins. I don't know whether it's true. So Bahadur Jobava is playing a game. No. Sorry, Chess Blitz 11, I can't play with you. I'm streaming live. So they have 15 minutes probably. These games will be a bit quicker. Yeah, Bahadur is playing the same thing. Almost the same. 92. Yeah, it is the same. Mm-hmm. 97, 85, the same. F5, look at that. Earlier F5. Bishop F4. Yeah, 95. Knight A4 to play B6. And to play C4, of course. C4 as well. Just a second. So let's play so far. It's not good. Mm. I think I have a better position here.